Good morning, good evening, depending on which time zone you're joining us from today. Welcome to the India Caucus event on winning in difficult situations through community mobilization. I'll take a quick few minutes to introduce our speakers and our moderator for today and jump straight into the conversation and allow them to jump straight into the conversation. Today, we're participating in a workshop in identifying and harnessing community during crisis. Our speakers will focus on strategies to ethically and efficiently mobilize the community to mitigate crises such as community tension, riots, natural disasters, COVID-19. I'd quickly like to introduce our main speaker for the day. Dr. Anand Prakash Maheshwari was the Director General of the Central Reserve Police Force, one of the world's largest paramilitary forces. He has experience in handling issues related to counterinsurgency, homeland security, crisis management, correctional administration, community policing, and border management. For his outstanding public service and leadership, Dr. Maheshwari has been recognized with the President's Police Medal for Distinguished Service, Police Medal for Gallantry and Police Medal for Meritorious Service. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us today, and we really look forward to this workshop. Moderating the conversation is our very own John Haber, who is an adjunct lecturer in public policy at the Kennedy School. Prior to the Kennedy School, John Haber taught the highly rated graduate course in public policy at Georgetown University. He's also the president of Cascade Strategy, a strategic communications consultancy founded in Washington, D.C. Apart from which, he is a veteran of 5 presidential campaigns, including Howard Dean, Bill Clinton, Richard Gafhard, Walter Mondale, and Edward Kennedy. He also has a private sector experience as the CEO of the American Association for Justice, one of the nation's most powerful professional associations. He holds a bachelor's degree from UCLA and a JD from the University of San Francisco. Thank you so much for joining us today, John Haber, and we look forward to this conversation. Over to you to get the conversation started.
Why don't I start off with our special guest here. We've talked a little bit about him. Tell us a little bit about your story and the kind of work that you do.
Good morning, everybody. It's my proud privilege to be part of this session. All of you have huge experience, energy, new visions, and I can also see the never-ending zeal. India is a conglomeration of various cultures and subcultures, and with a rich heritage. So I carry greetings from India for all of you. Namaskar. We are dealing with a very important topic today. Winning in difficult situations through community participation. Before we go ahead, based on my experience, I would like to discuss few premises. Number one, the word difficult itself. As I have experienced, there is nothing called difficult. In fact, it is a response capacity deficit, as I call it. When we know how to deal with the situation, when we have resources, skill sets, and the energy levels, when we experience a situation, then it remains no more difficult for us. So it is a experiential state, it is a relative state. Number two, we talk of a situation. As my experience shows, every situation is a unique situation. It is a unique combination of so many vectors at a point of time. Therefore, we have to be innovative with each situation. Even if I have done a work 10 times in the past, it cannot be exactly same, and more so in a difficult situation. When we talk of community, community is no more anywhere a homogeneous set of people. There are various subgroups, there are different mindsets, subcultures, there are different stratifications. We have to mitigate those differences and get the community on a common platform. Unless we do that, it doesn't happen. We talk of mobilization nowadays, not in terms of physical mobilization. It is more a cognitive mobilization. the thought process. There are so many narratives. People are so much conscious, so much linked with this, globally linked with so many thought processes. The social media, the level of awareness. We may differentiate between information and knowledge, but nevertheless, a lot of information is available with the people. So when we talk of mobilization, it is not merely physical, it's cognitive mobilization also. And we have to factor in the age aspect, the gender aspect, so many things when we are dealing with the community. And when we talk of winning in difficult situations, it is not a simple number game that we always win. It may be optimizing various situations, and maybe that there may be no gainful situation, but a situation where we have to avoid the greater loss and we minimize the losses. Even that is a winning situations, because the difficult situations are such. With these premises and humble submissions, now I will narrate out of my experience, couple of experiences to develop this topic. Number one, I'll take you back to my service cadre, Uttar Pradesh, which is the most densely populated state, about 250 million population. And in that state, there's a town, Muradabad. As I said, so many communities stay together. So over a period of time, they have a stratification, whether socio-economic or whether it is cultural. This town has been witnessing lots of conflicts time and again. So when I was posted there as a police chief, challenges were twofold. Number one, to mitigate those differences between the different communities or subgroups or subcultural groups, and at the same time, bring them to a common platform and use the community resources after empowering them to bring in the peace. We realized in that situation that even if two communities are having clashes, we through law alone or through the use of the force, we cannot control it, normalize the town. We found that the community involvement itself was the ultimate answer. So what we did, that we made a study of the various stakes of the communities, their leaders. We found the commonality. We drew various permutation combination of their interdependence on economic front, on a cultural front, or even in the sports or very social activities. We chose the people, the good people from both the sides. On every corner, street of the town, we formed the group. We went deep into the community, started knowing their displacements, the distortions in their beliefs, or whatever they had in their mind. And then through community dialogues involving the community, we brought them to a common meeting place. And thereafter, having empowered them, they use the same community resources for policing and intelligence generation, that who are the people who are creating troubles. And the community became our ears and eyes. They realized after, because of those situations which we create, that all the stakeholders reached into a win-win situation. So that was the experience where we used the community resources and empowered the community to take their own decisions, and we used the administration worked as a facilitator. Having said that, another important situation which I faced and which I would like to cite here was an earthquake situation in Kashmir, where I was posted as a regional head of a paramilitary force. In that situation, I'll only focus on the critical aspect. As it happens anywhere, lots of aids reached, lots of groups, came from outside. But the point is, unless we involve the local community, we could not customize those help. We did not know the language. The people who came from outside did not know the language. They could not even traverse the heights in that type of temperature. And how those material which had come from outside could be customized for their situation. When we involve the local people, even in the disaster situation, they could tell us what exactly suited them and the type of speed they could give us, the way they could climb the local terrain, because they were accustomed to that terrain as well as the temperature. And the language issues, understanding the locus ethos and pathos. So even in the disaster situation, we found that involving the local community was very important, and it did not call for much. Talking to the people, giving some importance. After all, when in a disaster situation, they are the recipients. So they know what to do and they understand the things very well. So from this example of my experience in Kashmir in disaster situation, we found that the community involvement, by talking to them, by being close to them, understanding their perspectives, what exactly do they want, facilitating from their perspective is very important. Generally, what happens that we have our own standard modules and we try to impose those solutions. That does not work in many situations because of the local variations. The third important thing, which is very recent and which is still interesting, is the COVID-19 situation. And it was not very long back, only last year, when the first surge came. I was heading CRPF, which is the largest paramilitary force. And when the first lockdown took place, it took everybody by surprise. Probably at that point of time, that was the only option because nobody knew exactly how to deal with it. Except that we knew the basic minimum of the COVID appropriate behavior. It had just started. We had all just started learning. But the great impact which we had was that lots of labor migrants from urban areas were forced to go back to the rural areas because they thought that it's not safer to stay here. And even there was a complete lockdown. So when these people were going back, it was a huge challenge. Now, CRPF being the largest force, it is about 1,600 bases on pan-India, all over the country. This has been the culture of the force that we have been working in all the internal security grid in collaboration with the local population. That was inbuilt in part of the culture of the force. So what we did, that we took help of the local community in stitching the mask for the crowds, the migrants who were traveling. Later on, the community pooled in the resources to buy a machine for us. They said that we can pool the resources, but we don't have the place, we don't have the people to operate. We trained our people, but the community pooled the resources. And once we produce the masks, they help us to distribute. Now I'm telling the instances. The community pooled in the raw material of the food. They wanted to help all these migrants. They did not know how to cook it. They didn't have kitchens. They didn't have the people to cook. The forces have the kitchens. The forces are the cooks. So what we did was that we held meetings with the local community, and whosoever was a volunteer. Obviously, in the COVID situation, many people did not volunteer much. But when we ourselves came out and we were taking action and doing the good things, in every community you find good people. They came up. They followed all the norms, COVID safety norms. But then these type of things, and even producing soaps and giving them the soap because this population hardly had anything. Even in the camps, giving them shelter to stay. So we used the community resources, and it was not only at one place, it was at many places. Number two, what we did with the help of the community and the other people, we created a pan-India integration through a helpline called Madadgar. And it was integrated with all social media, all types of telephones and other helplines. So anybody could call from anywhere. And we could come in contact with the community anywhere in the country because we had the pan-India presence. And this digital helpline, with the help of the social media, we could generate the community response. Because somebody was in north and his relation was in south, or something where difficult happened with the people and they wanted to be transported. So this integration, the synergy between the government machinery and the public, this was seen. And even in today's, I said that even when I'm working right now in Puducherry, we are using the public cooperation so much because we have realized this mask and social distancing, use of mask and the social distancing, and this cleansing, the hygiene of the hands is the most important. Even if we have the vaccine, we have to observe the COVID appropriate behavior. So we are involving all religious leaders, we are involving the social leaders, we are involving students, various organizations, Rotary and others, to bring this awareness. Even the community has come up with distributing, many people are contributing, distributing masks, even stitching masks, and the NGOs, we are meeting with the NGOs. So even this COVID situation, we are involving the people to deal with the difficult situation which the whole globally we are facing. And as most of you would agree, that awareness about COVID and these primary precautions which I've narrated, they are the crucial factors that remain before all of us. And the fourth, which is more important and which is equally an area of concern with whosoever is a right thinking citizen, global citizen, is the terrorism. Now, the way the asymmetric warfare, the proxy warfare has come up, it is no more limited to the geographical terrain. It has come to the human terrain. The civil society has become the turf of this warfare. When civic society becomes the turf, I'm reminded of the old saying that every policeman is a citizen in uniform and every citizen is a policeman without uniform. Why? Because they make an inroad into the human terrain. And unless we take public cooperation, and this is what we have done at many various places, when the terror elements started intruding the human terrain, and as Professor Haber will also agree with me, that social media, the type of radicalization which has been going on, the terror element doesn't even have to cross the boundaries. Sitting miles away, you can play with the mindset of a person. You can mutate and make that person do what you would have otherwise done had you been able to travel. So the physical space has become a nullity because of the radicalization, and people can mutate because they can control the mind of the people. In under such a situation, developing counter narratives, keeping in observation the neighborhood watch, we have to take help of the community to keep a watch. And I won't go very far off. Even when the Boston bombing took place, I think that was the best example of cooperation by the community, not in helping the investigating agencies, in giving the leads so that they could neutralize those terrorists. And at the same time, the people who suffered, the community came up to help them, restore them, resettle them, and in the medical aid. So even we, where we are today, globally living together, and it is technologically, everything is linked. So we are in a global village, which is linked. Every person is linked, and anything happening anywhere is a matter of concern for every country. All right thinking countries, the people have to be on the same page insofar the terror is concerned. And since they have the ecosystem, that ecosystem cannot thrive without the help of the local people. The civic society is the center of gravity, and therefore involving people in the security is utmost important. And mindset, I am reminded of one of the survey which the survey was done to see and determine the effect of the two world wars we had. And the survey said that out of the 37 countries, only 9 countries, out of 28 countries, only 9 countries devastated because of the war effect or the attack by the other countries. Rest of the countries devastated because of the weak internal security. When we talk of the weak internal security, it means the internal resistance of the people, the internal security system, the policing systems. And I am of the belief that here the role of the civic society becomes very important. So now when we deal with and talk of the difficult situations, I have cited the 4 examples, and having cited that, having said that, I will conclude my discussion with certain deliverables. Number one, what matters is the peacetime relationship we have with the community, which is a constant factor. It cannot be like this that we do not maintain peacetime relations, and in the crisis we try to invoke the assistance of the community. That will be very difficult. We have to keep networking with the key influencers in the society who are the role models, or the people who have been effective in the community. They help us to mobilize. We have to train some groups or the others for various crisis situations. Even the training the civic society groups is very important. One of the important aspects is the leadership, and that leadership calls for leading from the front, taking, and people watch whether we have the correct intention. We may not give the results, but my experience says that if our intentions are pious, we are trying, giving our 100%, the people will come along with us. It is that type of leadership which is important. Important is to manage the perceptions as the social media has become important, as various narratives are being floated. So, as I often say, the war of gun nowadays has been taken over by war of perceptions. And when it comes to the perceptions and the narratives, so this is another important field. And in this, may I submit that even in many places, we have taken the volunteers from the civic society, the youngsters as volunteers who help us to keep a watch on social media, what the narratives are getting generated, and where these narratives are being used and what is the impact. So we have now the social media cops as the volunteers from the society, and even the young generation is helping us. One important thing when we are working in a difficult situation is to plan as per the victim's requirement, not as per our whims and fancies, not as per the standard operating procedures. Standard operating procedures are only the starting point. But actually what happens, unless we take a victim-centric approach, the community involvement and the cooperation may not come. That is also one way of empowering the community. And one of my experiences that in difficult situation, when we involve the community, we look forward to real-time results. So the bureaucratic tangles should be avoided. There should be direct communication. There should be effective team building, and the real-time results should be achieved. So with this, I give a break to my talk, and I request Professor Haber to act as a moderator, and I'm open to further discussion and questions based on my experience, my learning. I will make my humble submissions. As I said, it may differ from place to place, situation to situation, but I'll be honest while I make submissions to whatever questions the audience is putting up, or any other specialist. We have 3-4 specialists in the group, and I'll be very happy to interact with them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Maheshwari. That was very impressive and very comprehensive. Why don't we start talking, but I also would suggest that those of you that are listening, if you want to ask a question as well, you could just raise your digital hand and we can see you, and we'll call on you as well. But one of the things, Dr. Maheshwari, that was sort of struck me is when we think about either crisis communications or communications itself, we always have to be very clear on who our most important audiences are, who's most important to us. And you have been very clear about this, which is your community. And you've talked a lot about how to work with the community, how to engage them, which is very impressive. But and you've talked about it in a number of different areas in terms of protection of the society, in terms of threats like COVID, and then also in terms of terrorism. Could you talk to us in a little more detail in the kinds of ways that the police force would work with the community? Can you give us some more specific examples?
Thank you very much for this question. This has been close to my heart because we have been dealing with various community policing models. And under the community policing models, gender safety has been one of the major issues in India, on which we have worked with the community, and various community empowerment models, right from self-defense to creating the systems where the women can go lodge their complaint, and single window solutions to all their problems. And this has been experimented at various places and major towns. We are talking of the safe city and the smart city, in which we are doing the public participation. And we have what we have switched over to is the evidence-based policing, in which we give more focus to the victim, which it had been lagging till now in India, but increasingly now we are focusing on victim-oriented policing and also the evidence-based policing. And in this, we have been talking to the party affected, and we have been involving various organizations who have been taking up the issues of women's safety, the children's safety. And we are also getting various surveys done to get the real picture, the data, and these organizations helping us out. This is one area. The other area in which we have been involving the community policing is stopping the in fact mitigating the few cases of atrocity on children or abusing of the children. On that also, a lot of NGOs are working, and we are open to the suggestions of the NGOs, helping them out, and we give them the legal support. We also draw the SOPs for them, and we have free interaction with these NGOs. In fact, I was also heading one of the organizations which is called the Bureau of Police Research and Development. And this organization integrates with all the institutions who have been specializing in that. For example, there's an institute, Tata Institute of Social Science, who have done many research in this field. And there are certain organizations in metropolitan towns. So we had been integrating all these efforts. So these are the things, even in the watch and ward, we have been involving the people. As I said, not only the monitoring the social media, we have volunteers, we have taken out with the scheme of the volunteers who have been enlisted by the government as a community volunteers, and they have been helping us out. Similarly, for the physical safety, we have been involving various civilian groups, and they have been part of the civil police system as special police officers. So these are various models which, and the different states have different models, and they have succeeded. We also lately had a student cadet program, like we have been involving the students of 10th to 12th standards in the school, and we have been taking them to police stations. We have been taking them to various communities where they have been a policing problem. Even the students sit down and run the police stations for a day in order to learn. Then the type of values which are generated, and then their parental support and the support of the students also comes. They also help us in managing traffic. They also help us in spreading the messages. Even we have various organizations in India like NSS and NCC. Through them also, we get the public support. We have the civil defense organizations where any person of a town can become the member of that organization. We train them for various situations. So we have evolved over a period of time, different social groups to help the police and the administration in mitigating various difficult situations.
And the areas that you're talking about, particularly gender safety, is an area that's evolving necessarily. How do you or your work and the work of other individuals leading police forces, do you learn from each other? Do you share ideas? Do you meet? Or because this is changing so quickly, how do people keep up with best practices?
In fact, over a period of time, everybody has realized the importance of uh, gender equality and the gender neutrality. And in India, we have been focusing on that, right from education of the girl child to the representation of the women in every walk, even in the political, social, job, economic, everywhere. And there are so many schemes which have been launched. And so we have been focusing, even in the forces, the women have been coming. And I mean, just out of the way, I tell you that women have succeeded not only in forces, the armed forces, they have succeeded in various economic activities in the corporates, in the teaching line, even in the medical, scientific research, everywhere there's an opening. Now, what we do is that when we are working, even the women warriors in the forces or in the police forces, they move to the community, they motivate the girl children to come up. And when they say that, yes, they are doing the tough jobs, so they're very happy and to emulate, and even they ask the women constables, the women warriors of the armed forces, how to go ahead in life. So we effect. So we are leading the community through demonstration effect, being with them, and in one of the low conflict situation, I tell you that we use the women force to go to the community, and their integrate and their connect with the family was very good, because the women in a family controls 4 to 5 stomachs. She feeds so many people. She controls the mindset of the children as well as the head of the family. And when the women constables and the women officers started connecting with those women from the families where the people had resorted to crime or gone against the state or indulged into some sort of a, so getting them back to the national mainstream, this was very much facilitated by the women of the family. And this was a very successful experiment in various low intensity conflict zones. And therefore, I mean, these are the examples where women are making a breakthrough, and through demonstration effect, more and more popularity, I mean, propagating these success stories, they are creating the impact. And we are also facilitating when wherever we are posted, the armed forces, they have this scheme of community action programs. They go close to the community and especially focus on all these issues. So women empowerment, we are, the India is very taking it very seriously. We have taken up various schemes right from the childhood. There are various schemes that are being launched for their education, empowerment, and facilitating them. On the other hand, if any type of atrocity is there, then the Supreme Court has issued the instructions regarding the safety at the workplace, and we are implementing them properly. Even when, if any domestic violence or other things takes place, there are laws in place, and even the police authorities have an onus to investigate those cases in a given time-bound manner and bring the guilty to the books. Even the social awakening and awareness is coming when people are teaching their own daughters and they want them to succeed. So it is a combination of all these factors, and I'm happy that we are going on in a positive direction. And as many of the experts say, I also believe that in a democracy, no democracy can be successful unless the women are empowered and they become the equal partner in growth.
Well said. What kind of additional steps do you think need to be taken in this area? What kind of additional improvements are you thinking about?
In this area, the women empowerment, you mean to
say? In terms of protecting women, in terms of the society changing its approach to protecting or dealing with violence against women, which is an area that's evolving quite rapidly.
As the society is changing, many things are happening. So even we have to make this civic society aware. You won't believe, I came across a case. It was in fact, uh, case of abuse of a girl child on internet. The girl child did not know that she's being led and what is being done. So even through the net in today's world, many type of atrocities are being conducted, and even the worst thing is that even the victim is not aware about it, that he is being exploited, she is being exploited. Such cases have come to the fore. So even in the social media, we have been very watchful, and we have been having a surveillance on the social media also, and what type of posts are being generated and who are the people approaching. But in this area, even without the civic society involvement, we cannot work. And I was also in the border security force. One of the borders, and even if they are caught in the intermediary country, so there are problem of evidence and how the evidence is generated and how the FIRs are registered and where the women will be kept. The forces can't keep them. We have to take help of in the stage till they are recovered, taken before the court, and they go to some other agency who can keep them till they are sent back to their families. Lot many involvement was sought, and many civic society groups, they sat together, came up with the solutions. So many legal changes took place in India because of the intervention of the intellectuals in the city. They came up with the changes that they wanted. Even the FIRs now can be registered now by any man of public who is interested in representing those cases. So the couple of NGOs and the third party FIRs, and even the evidence, we take it on videos, video links, the VC, all those things have been introduced. So this is one aspect how a conducive environment is created, the legal environment, as well as the system, as well as the enforcement agencies. So this is to track or stop those people who only understand one language. Now, there are certain minors, there are certain youngsters also who are indulging into it, but they need to be treated in a different way. That is what, as per the legal parameters, there have been extreme case when even an 8-year-old boy has done something to a 3 or 4 year girl child. Now he might have seen it somewhere or something. Now mens rea cannot be proved. Even such cases are coming. So they eventually, even where we have to stop it, there's the civic society which has to come. And if you go by the data, then data tells us that if anything is happening, any crime getting connected, 85 to 90% people who are committing the crime against girl, child, or the girls, they are from the close relationship or the close friend circles. That is also a fact which the data tell us. So it is the awareness which we have to increase in the civic society. It is coming slowly, gradually. The issue is being discussed, and therefore, to my mind, we have to create a conducive environment, a legal system, and where we can help them. There are NGOs working to help them to raise. There have been many cases, even in which where the NGOs took up and justice was done. Jasaika Lal case was one of the case in which the earlier some influential people controlled the situation, but the later with the intervention of the NGOs and the civic society, the justice was done to the victim. So awakening of the civic society, their awareness, it is must. And as I told you that most of the crimes against girl child or the young women, girls which is being committed as per the data by the relations themselves which are nearby or the friend circles. So all these things are important, and we have been analyzing it. I must say that the awareness has drastically increased, and the women's safety index has gone high in India, and in the women participation in the economic life, the social life, the cultural life, that is increasing. And still the work is going on towards the safe cities, even the smart cities also. We have been taking all those precautions.
Great. Well, thank you. We have some hands up in the audience. Let me first ask Professor Mark Fagan to, I think he has a question.
Well, actually, I wanted to amplify some of the important points that the doctor made and take it to a slightly different context. When the doctor gave his opening comments about the importance of community, he talked about the empowerment of the community, engaging the people, recognizing they know what is best for themselves, and the importance of being a facilitator rather than a dictator of policy. And the example I just wanted to share comes from Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico here in the Caribbean suffered from an absolutely devastating hurricane. It was a Category 5 Maria. And the electricity system in the entire country was shut down with one really interesting exception. It was not in an urban context, it was in a rural context, but it is a community where the community itself had recognized the need for improving the resilience of their community, and especially in this day and age, having electricity. And as a community action, they built a resilient electric system. They have solar panels, they have batteries, and while the entire island was blacked out, they still had power. And what I really wanted to amplify in what the doctor had said was the importance for the community itself in taking charge of its own future. The skill building that was resulting from this, the cohesion to the community, really took it in a much more powerful direction, in addition to having electricity when others didn't. So rather than a question, it really is just a comment. And I apologize because I'm going to drop off because I got to go teach shortly. But first of all, to the caucus for putting this together, absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much. And to Dr. Really appreciate your comments. I learned a great deal, so thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Professor Fagan. Appreciate it. Dr. Maheshwari, did you have any thoughts or comments, anything you wanted to add before we take another question from the audience?
No, I think I fully appreciate what he said. The resilience of the community is important, and it will come from the community itself, and the whole government system and even the administration should only be the good facilitators, and they should be the caretaker of the interest of the community. That is the punchline. And the due importance, and I said that the community may have different stakeholders. So the job of the administration is to organize, to recognize that who are the right people. And similarly, there may be bad people in the administration also. So even the community has got to keep a watch that who are the right people in the government or in the administration who can help. And these are the good types of people on the either side. When they come together, a new synergy will be caused. And this we have experimented time and again. So I absolutely agree with what Mark Fagan has said.
Yes.
Now we can take other questions. Thank you.
Thank you both. It's a truly excellent point about our North Star and what our underlying philosophy needs to be about. Thank you so much. Divya, you had your hand up. Did you have a question for us?
Yes, this is an amazing session. We had so many takeaways, and I'm actually from the medical school, but I learned so many things just generally in life. So I wanted to ask you that I had read about Usha Kiran, who's an officer, and she was the first CRPF officer to have been posted in a Naxalite area in Chhattisgarh. And she, just like you mentioned, she went on to inspire a lot of girls, tribal girls there, who went on to get follow up with their education and everything. So since we're talking about community building, do you think these sort of things should be promoted more? Like women should be sent to these difficult zones and not thought of as people would think that sending women to such places would be like a weak or a wrong step. But do you think like these things should be done? Because it had a lot of benefits, like not just the fact that she was an amazing officer, but also she went on to inspire scores of these tribal girls. And in fact, she was even able to have a bond with the Naxalites themselves, and it instilled a lot of confidence and actually brought the police closer to these tribal people.
Divya, I thank you for raising a very good question. And let me tell you that I've worked in CRPF for 10 long years and in different capacities. And also, I've been myself an admirer of Usha. And in fact, I'm reminded of a old movie in which the hero says that the strength doesn't lie here, it lies here in the mind. So at least the God has not discriminated between any human being and given the equal strength, the equal mind. And may I tell you that women warriors, I don't call them women constables, I call them women warriors. And they have proved their mettle time and again. And even in CRPF, it was formed way back in 1986. The one battalion has started, and now there are 6 battalions. And now they have been working in JNK grid, Jammu and Kashmir. They have been working in Naxalized grids. They have been working in the Northeast. And they have also been working in law and order grid with the RAF Rapid Action Force. And for your information, they even went to UN missions. And fully formed female unit in Liberia and other places, even the United Nations applauded their work. And for your information, may I also inform that even the president of Liberia preferred to have the guard of the women warriors of CRPF. So it has happened. They have proved their mettle time and again. And I must tell you that the focus, the dedication which they work. And number 2, when I was talking to my constables, the male constables, on the spot, as Director General, I went to the field and I asked them, how do you feel the women as the commander of your company? They said, so very good. Now the thought process of the male has undergone a change. Earlier, people did not feel it good to have a female as a leader. I'm talking of long back. That was the society's mindset in psychology. We have come a long way. And this time, I was very happy when the constables told us, sir, we feel proud that we have a lady officer. She's so caring, looks after us well, goes with us and leads from the front. And the more time they give to the men. So I was very happy to observe. So there are certain positives. All of us have some drawbacks. So we should, at least I don't differentiate between men and women, and they're equally participating. And even about the physical fitness, which is, a wrong thinking of most of us, that the man is more physically fit, even that has been proved wrong. Even in sports, even in various other fields. So even the Indian women from remote areas, they have done well. Even in the field of sports, women coming from Jharkhand, Northeast, the runners, even their physical strength and the way they have achieved. So, and in the long hours of work, the tough works they can do. And yes, of course. And I've been telling all my colleagues, yes, they are doing a great work which the Mother Nature does of a recreation. If that is the function to be done with which the nature is desired, and if for that period the women wants a break, we should be facilitating that rather than reading it against them. It should be facilitating. It is the greatest work of they are doing the work of recreation that the nature does next to the God, next to the creation. So that change is coming, and I am happy about it. And at least you gave a right example of Usha Kiran, and there have been other also. And even the women, there's an officer, Arpana from UP, she has been going to the highest peaks, and she has gone 7-8 times, and she is still, I think she has again gone to climb the Mount Everest, and she was with us in ITBP in Government of India. She's in UP police. She must be knowing. So the limitations in our mind, not outside.
That is truly inspirational, sir. Everything you've said today, I have so much to take back. And I love that you said that caring for someone and the empathy that women show, whether it's in an organization or in the force, it's not to be taken as a weakness. It's actually an added strength that they have, and people feel more valued. So thank you so much, sir.
In fact, if you ask me today, whatever values we learned from others. Discipline never comes from big things. And whatever discipline and values comes up to the age of 8 to 10. And it's the mothers who are responsible. In one of the speeches very recently, I said, I would thank my mother who taught me from the beginning, the small, small things. You're leaving the house, remember the divine for a minute. You tell your parents where are you going, what time you are coming back. You are coming back from the house, wash your hands, wash your feet. You are coming from outside. We didn't realize it for years unless the COVID came, and when we realized in a difficult way, yes, cleansing is an important aspect. I think most of us never knew how to wash hands properly. Now everybody in the world has learned how to wash hands properly. Okay. Chalo, nice interacting with you.
Yeah, I would just like to point out, you said something just a moment ago that I've just written down. Limitations are in our mind.
Yeah.
It's a very, very important statement. Dr. Maheshwari, thank you so much. This has been a wonderful and rich conversation. We appreciate your time.
Thank you. I also enjoyed having a conversation with the youngsters and a lot of direct questions. And I tried to humbly put forth my views, and my apologies if I have lagged anywhere in addressing, but there are so many things in mind, and I always welcome such interactions. Maybe that we mutually learn and go ahead. I wish all of you a safe and a healthy and a happy future. All the best.
Thank you so much.